Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. Kevin Rogers with you as we are at the 4th of July weekend, even though 4th of July is coming on Sunday, but today is Friday, July 2nd, and we welcome you to the show. We will not have one coming up on Monday, July 5th. We'll be back with you on Tuesday the 6th, and by then we'll know who will be in the NBA Finals, at least the Eastern winner. We already know Phoenix is coming out of the West, but we'll talk about the Atlanta-Milwaukee game last night and look ahead to tomorrow night's game coming up in just a second. Also, a full card of baseball, and also the Euro 2020 continues. Switzerland and Spain, they are just underway. Belgium and Italy coming up later on. But first, I want to remind you about the Daily Insider Contest, which we have every day here from Monday through Friday on our YouTube channel. And the prize is a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper on VegasInsider.com. It's a $100 value, and you can get that for free. Now, it's very easy to enter and participate. All you got to do is put your Vegas Insider user ID in the comments section below, along with your best bet for the day, whether it's Major League Baseball, NHL, Stanley Cup Final. There's no NBA tonight, WNBA. And it can be a first 5-inning bet in baseball, could be a player prop bet, it can be a first half bet in the WNBA, it could be a first period bet in the NHL. It doesn't matter. Side, total, it's up to you. It cannot be a live bet. It has to be before the game. And if you win your bet, and then you will be in the drawing for the week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper of your choosing. So we need your Vegas Insider user ID so we can get in contact with you. Now, if you don't have a Vegas Insider user ID, that's no problem. Go over to the big yellow register button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that. Free membership, register now. Click on that. And then you create your ID and password, email address, first and last name. That you don't have to create, you already have that. But put that all down so then you have an account, and that's all free. So then we can contact you assuming you win the contest. So very easy to do. Now, let us take a look at the NBA. And the Milwaukee Bucks are one step closer to their first NBA Finals appearance in nearly 50 years. The last time they won a title was 50 years ago. And now let's see what they'll do here against the Atlanta Hawks in Game 6 coming up on Saturday. But first, looking back at Game 5, the Bucks end up beating the Hawks last night, 123-112 at Fiserv Forum. And you knew that Giannis Antetokounmpo wasn't going to play. You kind of had a feeling. And his status up in the air for Game 6. Trae Young was ruled out of Game 5. So that line, which was at about 2.5 in the morning yesterday, moved up to 3.5, then closed at 4.5 when the news came out that Trae Young was not going to play. And obviously Atlanta didn't have the same jolt that they had in Game 4 without Trae Young. Milwaukee played much better to start Game 5 than they did Game 4. They were terrible to start Game 4. And Milwaukee jumped out to a huge lead. Atlanta had a nice last 15 seconds of the half as they were down, I believe, 12 or 13, and then they got a basket and then another basket on a steal, and that cut the deficit down to single digits going into halftime. But then Milwaukee, they ended up getting a little bit of breathing room in the third quarter, and then eventually they won by 11, 123-112. The under was never threatened. That's what happens when you get a 58 out of the gate and a 63. You're going to be in really good shape for an over of just 213. And the Bucks got huge games from Brook Lopez, also Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. And Atlanta just didn't get the games they needed to from their supporting cast. And unfortunately for Atlanta, Milwaukee has a better supporting cast than the Hawks do. Simple as that. You can't dispute that. That when you look at the players on Milwaukee, when you take out Giannis, and the players on Atlanta, when you take off Trae, the Bucks have a better team. And the Hawks, even to get to Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, is a major accomplishment for them, considering they were below 500 when Lloyd Pierce got fired and Nate McMillan came in, and Nate McMillan's done a great job. This Atlanta team is on the verge well, again, they got to win 2 games of getting to the NBA Finals. And I really wonder with Trae Young or how bad he's hurt. They say hurt versus injured. But I got to believe moving forward in the Eastern Conference, the Brooklyn Nets will be there again, assuming they keep their core, because Kevin Durant would have a healthy James Harden and a healthy Kyrie Irving up ahead in the near future. Philadelphia, they will be there. And you see which other teams make improvements in the East. And Atlanta, it's been, they knocked out Philadelphia, the number 1 seed, and that's a great job. And now they have Milwaukee in a Game 6. But yet, I just kind of feel like Trae Young, you don't want to sit out Game 6 and then all of a sudden Milwaukee wins, and it is like a what if. It really is, that if he would have played without Giannis on the other side. Now, Milwaukee's got a mulligan here. And I know you don't want to play this game, but Milwaukee loses Game 6 on the road without Giannis and give them a few extra days off. They still have Game 7 at home, so it's no big deal. But Atlanta has got to win 2. They got to win at home, which they've had some ups and downs the last 2 rounds, and then they got to go to Milwaukee and win Game 7. So to do that without Trae Young is a very big task, where Milwaukee could seemingly split the next 2 without Giannis, and it's not a crazy thought. And Milwaukee would be in the finals against Phoenix, and then Atlanta has their season end, a good season, but when are they going to get back here again? Now, if Trae Young plays and they lose, at least Trae Young gives it a shot. But again, we'll see what happens going into Saturday night's game. Atlanta's short favorite against Milwaukee for Game 6. Let's go to the Stanley Cup Final tonight. And Tampa Bay travels north of the border for the first time this season as they face Montreal. Now, remember, these two are normally division rivals when it's a normal season in the Atlantic. But this year, obviously, the teams split up, and the Canadians in the Canadian division, the North, and Tampa Bay in the Central division, which makes no sense geographically, but they had to put all those teams from the Sun Belt area and some from the Midwest together. But Tampa Bay up 2-0 in Montreal, Game 3 tonight from the Bell Center, and Tampa Bay, who was listed as a 200 favorite in the first 2 victories, and they held Montreal to 2 goals, now laying 135, so that number's dropped a bit. I wonder if Montreal's the play tonight. And look, the Canadians, just because of what they've done so far in the first few rounds, I'm not ready to count them out yet. They lost the first game to Vegas, came back and won that series. Granted, now they're down 2-0. They're down 3-1 to Toronto, came back and won that series. So it's not dead yet, but this is an excellent Tampa Bay team they're facing. And that total of 5 tonight for Tampa Bay and Montreal. And if you want to read more about the Lightning and the Canadians, go to, well, right now on the homepage, we have the Stanley Cup Game 3 preview. Also, you can find it on our NHL page. Now, Major League Baseball, let's take a look at tonight's card. And we'll start in Philadelphia, where the Phillies have been off for the last day. They were rained out against the Marlins, and now they are back at it against San Diego. And the Padres, they could not pull off the sweep of the Reds last night. Cincinnati was up early. Padres came back and took the lead. Then the Reds won it in walk-off fashion with 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning. So Cincinnati finally broke through against San Diego. 1 win in 7 meetings. They'll be happy not to see the Padres again. But now the Padres face the Phillies tonight in Philadelphia. And Zach Wheeler, who is continuing to put together a fantastic season for the Phillies, he's favored against Chris Paddock. And the Padres right now 1 win away from 50 already. I dug up this number, that the Padres in Chris Paddock's last 12 starts as an underdog, they're 2-10. So keep that in mind, that Paddock may do well in the role of a favorite, but not necessarily in the role of an underdog. Zach Wheeler defeated his old team, the Mets, his last time out. He's got a 2.20 ERA, 130 strikeouts, does have just a 6-4 record, but also for Wheeler, 5 consecutive unders. So that's something to keep an eye on. And in those 5 unders, here are the total runs scored in those games. 6, 5, 2, 7, 3. And tonight's total is 8. So, again, is that number going to go backwards. Now, San Diego, I had this number for them, or I took the under against the Reds that first game where Blake Snell was scheduled to start, but then he had food poisoning and Craig Stammen ended up starting. It was a bullpen game for the Padres. They actually have had a lot of low-scoring games. That was the highest-scoring game they've had, even though it stayed under the total of 10.5. They won 5-4 a few nights ago against the Reds. But before that, just to give you some numbers of San Diego in road series openers of late, 2 at Colorado, 2 at the Mets, 2 at the Cubs. They did score 10 at Houston, but that game was 2-2 going to extra innings, and then San Diego scored 8 in extra innings. So keep that in mind. We'll look at the extra inning numbers. That it's not just, San Diego scored 10 runs. They did, but they had 2 through 9 innings, and that to me is most important. But that will start the Friday card off at 6:05 from Citizens Bank Park. Cross state going west in Pennsylvania, it is the Brewers and the Pirates, and Milwaukee won last night in convincing fashion over Pittsburgh 7-2, and Milwaukee's won 9 straight. Adrian Hauser against JT Brubaker, and this number is really interesting, that Milwaukee laying 120. Pittsburgh has been a disaster of late. They've scored 4 runs in their last 4 games, and they get blown out last night. When you look at Adrian Hauser, he is not exactly the strength of the Milwaukee rotation. He's pitched well, but he's had more success in the underdog role than in the favorite role. He did beat the Pirates last time he faced them in mid-June 5-2, when 5 2/3 innings allowed 2 earned runs. But his last 2 starts, he's given up 9 earned runs, both against the Rockies. So now he's facing a new opponent. But very short line there for Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. Dodgers and Nationals tonight from D.C. They played a shortened game last night due to rain. L.A. ended up winning that one 6-2. And the Dodgers now have won 6 straight. Julio Urias on the mound, opposite Max Scherzer. And for Scherzer, he has been, the numbers since coming off the DL, 2 earned runs, 15 strikeouts, a pair of Nationals wins against the Phillies and Marlins. Now he's back at home. He hasn't had a lot of luck at home, but when you look back at it, we can throw out the San Francisco game. He threw 12 pitches and recorded 1 out, and he left due to injury. They lost 1-0 to the Giants. So they didn't get any offense. But we'll throw that one out. Lost to Milwaukee 3-0, lost to Cincinnati 2-1. So there's been some tough luck for Scherzer at home, and a lot of low-scoring games, too. And Scherzer currently riding, including the San Francisco game that he left in the first inning. The Nationals have hit the under in 7 straight starts made by Max Scherzer. And now he's facing the Dodgers. LA is favored here. You don't get Scherzer as a home dog that often. And for Urias, 107 strikeouts on the season compared to 18 walks. So everyone talks about Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, and they forget about Urias, but he has pitched well for LA. He's got 6 wins already on the road. So that'll be an intriguing game tonight between the Nationals and the Dodgers in D.C. The Reds, we'll see if they can capitalize off that walk-off win over the Padres last night. They're a heavy favorite against the Cubs. Cincinnati back at 500 at 40-40. And Chicago, they have been miserable of late. They've lost 6 straight since no-hitting the Dodgers, including blowing a 7-0 first-inning lead and a 15-7 loss to the Brewers a few days ago. They got swept in that series. They lost the final 3 to L.A. Chicago just has not been good on the road, 16-26. The Reds, doesn't matter where they play, they're just an average team, 20-20 at home, 20-20 on the road. And now these teams meet up for a 3-game series. The Cubs took 2 of 3 the last time they played in Chicago. The Reds took 2 of 3 the last time they played in Cincinnati, and the total numbers have been kind of up and down. You had that crazy Sunday game in early May, the 13-12 win by the Reds in extra innings. But again, very up and down. The Reds they've lost 3 straight off a win. I know it's small sample size, but just throwing that one out. Sonny Gray back on the hill. And for Gray, he is just 1-4 in the season, 3.42 ERA. First start in nearly a month. 3 innings against Milwaukee his last time out. And, in fact, Gray is winless in his last 4 home starts. So there's a little nugget there. And for the Cubs, it's Alec Mills. Mills, who threw a no-hitter, actually, last season for Chicago. And Mills, 5.11 ERA. Last time out through 4 innings and a loss to the Dodgers. And for Mills, his last 3 starts, all under. But really not a lot of warm trends here between the Cubs and the Reds. The Marlins, they were rained out against Philadelphia a few nights ago. So Pablo Lopez, actually it was last night. Pablo Lopez, who was supposed to pitch last night, he's going to go tonight against Drew Smyly. Now, if you watch the Braves and the Mets last night, Jacob deGrom against Ian Anderson. deGrom got knocked around in the first inning, but then was great after that. And the Mets were down 3-1. They tied it at 3 in the ninth. The Braves loaded the bases in the bottom of the ninth inning. Well, they had a runner on third, Ron Acuna Jr., who didn't start. He pinch hit. They intentionally walked him. Then they walked Inciarte. So as the bases loaded for Freddie Freeman, the reigning NL MVP. And if you missed the highlight, watching it the first time, it was very frustrating if you had the Mets. Watching it the second time, it was, I understood a little better. Now, what I'm saying is, Freddie Freeman hit a ground ball to the third baseman for the Mets. Where he was on the diamond, or more of on the grass, or wherever he was close enough to third base to tag third on the force out because he was, in a sense, ahead of Ronald Acuna Jr. The only issue was, after seeing it the first time, that should have been the play. Instead of throwing it across the field to first base, Freeman beat it out, and the Braves won 4-3. But if you watch the replay again, the momentum where he was going with it, he had to throw it to first. Because with the momentum, he was kind of in no man's land where he had to make the throw. He couldn't go back to third. It was a little awkward. You know, if he was closer to the bag at third, maybe he tags third and the Mets get out of it and they go to extra innings. But when you see the replay, you'll know what I'm saying. And if you saw what happened, then you know exactly what I'm saying. That he was ahead of Acuna, and he would have tagged third, and they would have just got out of that inning, and the Mets would have started fresh in the top of the 10th. But he made the throw across the field, and Freddie Freeman was going to beat that one out, and he did. So the Braves ended up winning that game 4-3 as a heavy underdog against Jacob deGrom, and deGrom actually ended up pitching well in spite of the bad first inning. And deGrom ended up striking out 14 in 7 innings, but they fell behind 3-1, and again, they tied it, but the 3 runs, that was kind of a killer. So the Mets, after stealing that first game against the Braves, they were down 3-0 and came back and won. New York won 20-2 and 4-3. So the Braves bounced back nicely. So it puts us now to where we're at tonight, Braves and Marlins. And the Marlins, they won Wednesday against Philadelphia. They beat Aaron Nola 11-6, but they didn't play last night due to rain. And the Marlins really aren't winning games 3-2. They're winning these games 11-1, 11-2, 11-6. So Miami's got to get their hitting going, and they'll be successful. The Marlins so far this season, they've had Atlanta's number. They're 5-2 against the Braves in 2 meetings. The last time they played, the Sunday game at Lone Depot Park in Miami, the Braves won 6-4. It was this pitching matchup, in fact. Drew Smyly over Pablo Lopez. Lopez lasted only 3 innings. Atlanta was a short dog there. Now Lopez flipped to a dog. In that game, Atlanta was up 3-0 out of the gate. So that was, kind of a killer for Lopez, who lasted only 3 innings, gave up 4 runs. Drew Smyly went 5 innings, 6 strikeouts and 2 earned runs. So he pitched well in that one for Atlanta. And the Braves, as you see, they are a short favorite tonight against the Marlins. The Rockies end up beating the Cardinals in Nolan Arenado's return to Coors Field last night. And the Rockies continue to play well at home, 29-16 now. I mean, I have never seen something like this before. So the Rockies are 35-47 overall. They're 29-16 at home, but 6-31 on the road. And it's baffling. But their pitching continues to look good. They've allowed 4 runs in the last 4 games. And Colorado, with the walk-off win over St. Louis last night, 5-2. And Adam Wainwright went 8 innings in the game for the Cardinals. Antonio Senzatella, who actually, I mentioned this yesterday, he's pitched better at home, and the numbers are reflecting it. 5 straight unders for Colorado right now. And again, for St. Louis, look, they're coming off the sweep of Arizona, and I know Colorado's very good at home, but they've lost 2 to Detroit, lost to Colorado. I mean, the Cardinals can't get in the playoffs losing these games to these teams. You can't do it. If you think you're one of the better teams in the National League, you can't be losing these games, and they keep finding ways to do it. So it's Johan Oviedo, who was a heavy favorite his last time out against the Pirates and got knocked around. He goes tonight, and Oviedo, 6.91 ERA on the road. He's 0-4, 5.23 ERA overall. Chichi Gonzalez goes for the Rockies, 2-5, 5.81 ERA. And look at that total, 12.5 for Gonzalez. Now, putting this out there, 3 times this season, Gonzalez has started at Coors Field with a total of 11.5 or over, and the over's 3-0. So don't be afraid of the 12.5. I'm not recommending it, but don't be afraid of it, even though the Rockies are on this under streak, because you have 2 pitchers that can get lit up tonight. And we know Colorado can score at home. St. Louis, they've had their struggles offensively, but what a heavy number this is. San Francisco and Arizona, the last game of the night inside the National League, and the Diamondbacks won a game last night. Congratulations to them as they beat the Giants. And Zach Gallen goes tonight against Alex Wood. And for Wood, he's 6-3 on the season, but the Giants have dropped 4 in a row. Arizona snapped a 4-game skid with the win last night, 5-3. For Gallen, 3.69 ERA, pitched better his last time out, 5 innings against the Brewers, 8 strikeouts. And that game in Arizona, the Brewers busted out a little bit late in that game. But for Gallen, that was 2 starts ago. Let me look at the last start. That was against the Padres, and Gallen was a heavy dog, and he went 4 2/3, gave up 2 earned runs. The question with Zach Gallen is how far he's going to go in these games. And for Alex Wood, he ended up beating the Athletics his last time out, 5 1/3. And they won that game 6-5. So it was a bounce back after he got knocked around by the Phillies in his previous start. In the American League, it's Tampa Bay and Toronto. They meet in Buffalo tonight. And the Rays, they're coming off that rough series in Washington. They lost both games to the Nationals. And Tampa Bay, they're still at 47-34. The Rays have dropped 3 in a row. And they get Toronto, who's lost 2 in a row, who won the opener against Seattle, but lost the last 2, allowing 16 runs in those games. Alek Manoah goes for the Blue Jays tonight, and he's so far in the season, 3.34 ERA, picked up with no decision his last time out against Baltimore. That was actually a loss, and he went 6 innings, though, and allowed one unearned run, and he's coming off 2 matchups against Baltimore. Now he's facing Tampa Bay, so we'll see how that one turns out. And Luis Patino goes for the Rays, and most likely this will be a bullpen game for Tampa Bay, but they invented the bullpen game. Lance McCullers Jr. starts for Houston tonight. They're in Cleveland. The Astros, who snapped a 4-game skid, a 7-2 blowout of the Indians last night. They were down 2-0 early, but then got 5 in the 5th, and they ended up beating the Indians 7-2. So they bounced back from that terrible series against Baltimore, in which they lost as very heavy favorites each of those games. So they rebound nicely, and the Indians have stumbled of late. And McCullers, he actually has been a very strong part of this Houston pitching staff this season. 5-1 record, 2.94 ERA, 3-2 win last time out against Detroit on the road. He was a heavy favorite. And the Astros have actually won, dating back to late April, 7 of his past 8 starts. And the Astros, they also hit .281 against lefties. So they're a heavy favorite tonight in Cleveland. White Sox and Tigers from Detroit. And Casey Mize goes tonight for the Tigers. And, of course, that always means that there could be a possibility of an under for the Tigers, considering when you look at Mize this season, he is at, let me just get the updated number, 12-2-1 to the under, and the 2 overs happen in extra inning games. So he probably would have stayed under in those games if the game was decided in 9 innings. But Mize, off of a 6-inning effort against the Astros last time out, 3-1 victory. And so far this season, Mize has lost twice to the White Sox in low-scoring games. Now he faces Lance Lynn. And Lynn, who is up there in the discussion for Cy Young this year, he's been a little banged up of late. Lynn, 7 innings his last 2 starts, did go 3 scoreless his last time out against Seattle. It was a 3-2 loss. The White Sox are 0-4 in Lynn's last 4 starts. So keep an eye on that one. Chicago favored in Detroit. White Sox off the sweep of the Twins, which is a great segue because Minnesota goes to Kansas City tonight to take on the stumbling Royals. And this total tonight at 10. Kansas City's lost 9 in a row. Minnesota, they have lost 3 in a row. So both these teams not in good form. Brady Singer, who had a lot of upside last season, his first year in the majors, the former Florida Gator. He, so far this year, 4.70 ERA, 3-6 record, and he picked up a no decision a few starts ago against the Yankees. They won 6-5. He was the starting pitcher, but the last time Singer won a start was against the Pirates back on June 1st, and we're at July 2nd. So it's not been a good stretch for Brady Singer. He did lose to Minnesota last time he faced him 2-1 back in early June. Did go 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. So he's had success in that sense, but he didn't win the game. J.A. Happ, who actually picked up a win his last time out, congratulations, against Cleveland, a rare win for him. He still has an ERA of 5.83. And his last 2 starts against the Royals, both over the total of 9.5, both 6-5 games. Twins won one of them, Royals won the other. Hard to trust either of these pitchers tonight. Kansas City a short favorite. Out west, let's take a look at these games. Orioles and the Angels. And I want to bring up this number to you. So Baltimore's coming off that 3-game sweep of Houston. And they were plus 230, plus 300. They were ridiculous underdogs in those. It was plus 250 in 2 of them and plus 300 in the other. Now, Baltimore, don't be afraid to lay some chalk. In Baltimore's last 19 road games, as an underdog of 200 or less, all right, they won the 3 in Houston as a 250 or higher underdog. In Baltimore's last 19 road games, as an underdog of 200 or less, you know what the record is? 0-19. They've lost 19 consecutive games as a road underdog of 200 or less. And the last time they won a game as an underdog of 200 or less, that was the John Means no-hitter at Seattle a long time ago. So the Orioles continue their road trip. They face the Angels tonight. LA had their game wiped out against the Yankees yesterday, which wasn't the worst thing in the world because they got to leave town a little bit early. So they go from the Bronx back to Anaheim, and they're coming off a series win against the Yankees. A tough road trip. I mean, honestly, a tough stretch here. Yankees, Rays, Giants for the Angels, and now they get the Orioles. And there's one thing about the Angels, and I always hate this term, but I use it anyway. They're bullies. That they beat up on the little guys, and you look back, they took 3 of 4 from Detroit. They swept 3 from Arizona. They took 3 from Kansas City. They split 4 with Seattle, still a winning team. They took 2 from Texas. That they beat up on teams that they should beat. And Keegan Aiken has struggled for Baltimore. Griffin Canning hasn't exactly been great for the Angels, but he's also taking care of business of teams that he should be taken care of. So, I mean, honestly, I do like the Angels in this game tonight, even as a heavy favorite. I just can't see Baltimore winning again. The Red Sox and the Athletics out in Oakland, and this is an intriguing matchup. Boston has caught fire coming off a 7-0 homestand against the Yankees and Royals. The Athletics just 4-6 the last 10. They dropped 2 of 3 to Texas at home. You're getting Oakland as a rare home underdog here, but also the A's with Frankie Montes, he hasn't been exactly sharp. The A's are 1-4 in his last 5 starts at home. Eduardo Rodriguez, actually, the numbers aren't great. Boston is 5-0 his last 5 starts. In all 5 of those starts, the Red Sox have scored 7 or more runs. So Boston has given Rodriguez plenty of run support. Maybe you look at the over in this game tonight. But that one flipped because the A's opened up as an underdog, or as a favorite rather. Now they're an underdog against the Red Sox, and Boston playing very well. The last American League game of the night is Texas and Seattle, and Kyle Gibson goes for the Rangers this evening, and Gibson at 6-0 so far on the season. And look, again, I think one of the great stories, because he's not getting a lot of Cy Young consideration, ERA of 2, which included the 5 earned runs he allowed in a third of an inning against Kansas City in the season opener. So you take that first start out, and his ERA is below 2. 6-0 record. Only issue is Texas is 2-5 in his 7 road starts. He didn't pitch well against Seattle last year, didn't face the Mariners yet this year. Mariners 4-0 at home against Texas. And Logan Gilbert, who actually has been a nice surprise for the Mariners in their rotation, he's won a lot as a heavy underdog, but Seattle 6-0 in his last 6 starts. And Texas playing well. Mariners took 2 against Toronto and Buffalo. So both these teams playing with some confidence here going into tonight's action. And the final game of the night, the Mets and the Yankees from the Bronx. The first time the Subway Series hits this year. And the Mets off that loss to the Braves last night. They have dropped 4 of 5, the Mets. Can't just say New York. The Yankees have dropped 5 of 6. So there's going to be a lot of happy fans out at Yankee Stadium tonight. Taijuan Walker goes for the Mets, 6-3 record, 2.38 ERA. And Walker off 3 consecutive unders. Mets are actually 3-1 in his last 4 starts. And the Mets also at 7-2 in his last 9 outings. So that's good news for the Mets. Meanwhile, for the Yankees, it's Jordan Montgomery, 3-2 record, 4.06 ERA. The Yankees had won his previous 6 starts before losing to the Red Sox his last time out 4-2. But Montgomery, though, 2.61 ERA at home. And both these teams right now not playing well. So we'll see who can get off the hook tonight. Now, let's go back to the homepage and anything you may have missed. WNBA best bets. You can check that out. Belgium and Italy, that's the next Euro 2020 game after Switzerland and Spain. And that game kicks off at 3 o'clock. But right now, Spain in front of Switzerland, 1-0 in the first. Italy and Belgium, that is the 3 o'clock game. Stanley Cup Final tonight. If you want to check out some horse racing from Mike Dempsey. Also, Mark Lawrence, longtime handicapper, legend in the industry. He released his ACC season predictions. So you can find that on our College Football Arena, and he'll have those weekly throughout for every conference. Also, NASCAR, the Road America coming up, the Road America 250. Michael Roberts has the preview there. Austrian Grand Prix for F1. We have that. And UFC, the big card coming up next weekend. So, with all that out there, I want to remind you we don't have a show coming up on Monday. We are off for July 4th, even though it's July 5th. And then we'll be back on July 6th, next Tuesday. The Daily Insider contest, I want to remind you about that as well. Put your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet in the comment section below. It can be Major League Baseball, NBA. You can do it for Saturday for Hawks and Bucks if you want, even though the game's tomorrow, but we're not having a show tomorrow. If you want to do Hawks and Bucks for Game 6, feel free. And also NHL, WNBA, side, total, player prop bet, first 5-inning play, whatever you want as long as it's not a live bet. And put your user ID along with your best bet in the comment section below, and you'll be in the running for a week's worth of handicapper picks from one handicapper on VegasInsider.com. If you do not have a user ID, click on the big yellow register button. You can't miss it in the upper right-hand corner. Free membership. Register now. Click on that. Create an ID and a password. Put in your email address, first and last name, and your phone number, and then you'll be all set. It is free to register. I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you on Tuesday. Have a very safe 4th of July weekend. And as always, best of luck with your bets.